Okay, so so as everyone has heard that this Zoom meeting will be recorded, and then once this is finished, and then we will share this recording with all of those our NCCBA members who haven't got a chance to join our today's presentation. So Professor Michelle, shall we just get started right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sure. So, and then I will just give a quick overview of our goal or our topic today. And then, so our goal today is to have a conversation about how our business, small and large, how can they survive and thrive in this COVID-19 world if we deem this kind of like virus going to be associated with us for a long time or for an extended time. And then it's our honor, the NCCBA's honor, to invite our guest speaker today, Dr. Edward Marshall, to give us a presentation. Dr. Marshall is a professor at Duke who teaches leadership classes. And then Daniel has introduced Dr. Marshall to us, to our NCCBA, because Professor Marshall has offered so many presentations for our previous NCCBA members and also some guests from the Nanjing delegation last year. Dr. Marshall is the author of multiple leadership books. And then I want to introduce like some of them. So I think it's very interesting to let our audience know that Professor Marshall's authorship for those leadership books. So I think the first book that Professor Marshall wrote is the book that called Transforming the Way We Work, the Power of the Collaborative Workplace. Is that right, Dr. Marshall?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that in that book, you're talking about, you first raised the concept of a collaborative method for the leadership. And that book has quickly became the best-selling leadership book or the business book after it was published. And then later on, you have published a second book that is called the second book is called Building Trust at the Speed of Change. So here you really kind of like promoted a concept of to establish a trust-based relationship between the leaders and the employees. And then I know that recently you just had your third book that is called The Leadership Force Evolution, Collaboration for the 21st Century. And I think that maybe today's talk will also touch the scratch of this third book as well. So, and then go back to the introduction part. So I think it's our great opportunity to hear from Professor Marshall today, because he's going to give us some important insights from his consulting work and research on the collaborative leadership. And because he has sit with a lot of executives and has do the training and the consultation for all executives from Fortune 500 companies like DuPont, Marriott, Microsoft, and Philips. And also for medium-sized and small business on 5 continents. So then I hope that each of you who join our meeting today will leave our conversation with your collaborative ideas and tools or strategies that you can use to cope with your business and to let your business thrive along with your employees. So right now I would just, and also we would like to thank a team member of Professor Marshall, who her name is Yi Yao. Yi is a master's in the engineering management graduate student at Duke Universities. So thanks so much for Yi to help us to do all of the Zoom technical work and then to host this Zoom meeting. Thanks so much, Yi. I would like to extend our gratitude to you on behalf of members. So right now then,
I think
Professor
yes, Xiaomei also, Xiaomei also did a lot of work.
Yes, is Xiaomei here? Yeah, so yeah, thanks so much, Xiaomei, for host this material on the website and also help market our today's presentation. So right now, I would just give the time to Professor Marshall. Do you want to say hi to our members, Professor Marshall?
Hi.
Yeah, I hope it's not too long introduction.
No, no, it's really my honor to be here as well, Fiona. And I'm going to try my Mandarin if I might. Hirunxin Lai Dao Julie. So
I
I
guess it's
hope that
Gaoxing.
I hope that came across. He was helping me practice, but thank you so much for your invitation.
Okay, thanks. So, and then for our today's format, we have consulted with Dr. Marshall, and then he preferred to have an interview other than a lecture. So we will just start our interview right now. And first, we will just raise a few questions. So, and then to initiate this topic, and then later on, we will have maybe a breakout group. And then so maybe we have 5 or 6 people in that breakout group, and we will talk about some questions that Professor Marshall that would like you to discuss about. And then when you come back, and then we will just talk about further based on your answers to those questions. So, so Professor Marshall, so in your third and the most definite book on collaboration, what is your main message that you want to transmit in your most recent book?
Well, Fiona, I'm going to go to slide share right now, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So again, I just want to thank you for your gracious introduction and for this chance to speak with your members. I value very much my association with the Chinese community, and it was great when Daniel asked me to work with him last fall. I jumped at the opportunity. But before we begin, I just want to offer, on behalf of the American people, an apology to you all and to your families and to the people of China for the disrespectful way in which our president has treated President Xi at the United Nations, the unnecessary trade wars, and also how he was insulting at the presidential debate just this last Tuesday. So we are very sorry for that. We hope you understand that the American people are different from some of the folks who are leading this country, and we're hoping for a change soon, so we become more civil. I'm going to go to the slides now and look at the basic, not that, the main message. So what I'd like to do is to just say that, my main message here for today, it's not the main message of the book, but the main message today is that to survive and thrive in this COVID-19 world, I believe business leaders have an opportunity to seize this moment, carpe diem, if you will, to adopt an approach to leadership that will address the critical challenges that you all face through collaboration. And these threats that we see, certainly COVID-19 is an existential threat to small and medium-sized businesses, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Secondly, we do get work done through people, so they need to feel physically safe in the workplace in order to do their best work. Thirdly, we have the opportunity and the challenge of working with our millennial and Gen Z generation. They're 75% of the global workforce by 2025, and I can tell you from teaching them that they expect work cultures that are collaborative. And then finally, teams are the way we get work done. So creating collaborative trust-based teams is a way to address many of the challenges that we face today. And again, we'll talk about that some more.
Yeah, sure, sure. So we will see like there's a lot of things that you just talked about. There sounds like very challenging at this time. So we'll just get into this in a more detailed way. So I just had a few questions that I think is kind of like related to this one. So and first, how do you see the current business context and the risk that we have at this time?
Well, Fiona, I think we've got a very serious situation here. The most important thing is that we have a fundamental lack of leadership in the economy, in COVID, certainly on race relations internationally, and so forth. And as a result, the private sector, yeah, I see is facing really a sustained economic crisis. This is going to be with us for some time. It's far more severe than the Great Recession of 2008, as some of the statistics have shown. And we're approaching Great Depression levels of 1932. If the public sector does not get serious about a national strategy to curtail the spread of COVID-19. So I see these challenges that we are facing here. And I also see that each one of them offers us an opportunity. So I don't want this to just be seen as being negative. I'm actually pretty optimistic that we can come through this far stronger and better than we are right now. But we all know about COVID-19, and it's a national public health crisis, and we've heard word today that the president and first lady have contracted it as well, and perhaps many other of our national leaders. But there are over 7.5 million infections nationally that we know, and over 212,000 people have died as of today. There were 2,270 infections in North Carolina just yesterday, with about 50 people who passed away. We're number 8 in the United States. So this is nothing we are all very concerned about this, and it's not getting better, I think is the point. And WHO is also telling us that it's going to be with us for the foreseeable future. And I think even if we get a vaccine, there are now surveys. Ipsos had one too recently that 50% of the United States citizens aren't going to take it. It's a trust issue. There's just a fundamental loss of public trust that is here. And I think for businesses, this presents a serious risk for long-term sustainability. Many businesses have been able to survive, 6 months, or may have cash on hand for 12 months, but there are some long-term consequences here that we need to consider, and I have some thoughts about that we'll talk about. But secondly, the economic collapse, is very serious, and it trails the COVID-19 situation by about 6 to 8 months. But as of September 23rd, there were 163,000 small businesses, according to Yelp, that had closed permanently. Our own Channel 11 reports as of September 10th that 60% of Raleigh's small businesses face closure. And our national economic growth has gone from a plus 2.3% in 2019 to minus 3.8% projected for 2020. We have over 60 million people who filed for unemployment. That is Great Depression levels, and 13 million of them are still out of work. So what we have now is structural unemployment that will be permanent, because many of these businesses aren't going to be coming back. We know that it's going to take years to recover, especially since there's no national strategy to do that. So I think for businesses, this means that we need to be prepared now to be putting together, if we aren't already, a strategy for survival for the long term. How are we going to do that? There's a new workforce. It's changed dramatically. We have new demographics, and as I mentioned before, 75% of the global workforce is going to be millennials and Gen Zers within just a matter of a few years. So, and their expectations, this is a survey by Deloitte, and there are other data points relative to what are the expectations of this generation. And it is that they expect our businesses to be engaged in social action to help the community, but they also want collaborative cultures. They want to be engaged and to be able to not be micromanaged, among other things. But then we also have a retention issue. We know that, I mean, some people are losing their jobs by attrition. Some are losing as a result of COVID-19 and layoffs and furloughs. But then we also have retention of the workforce, where if they're a person leaving a job voluntarily or involuntarily, we know that that is a minimum of 4x times their salary. It goes right to the bottom line of the company. So sometimes it's as much as 20x. So it's really, really important for us to focus on retaining our best people. So those are a range of kind of the contextual situation that we have. And I think underlying it all is this, what's missing is effective national leadership. And what we need, since we're kind of on our own to figure this out, is a new approach to leadership. And I believe that that approach is collaboration.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Marshall. So what you just raised sounds like a lot of challenges and are all powerful forces that's going to impact our local or individual business leaders and the business. And also Governor Cooper just announced that there will be a phase 3 opening in the next few months, or I think it's just announced this week. So what is your opinion or suggestions to those business leaders and the workplace towards the reopening?
Yeah, that takes effect today. And given the statistics yesterday, I really don't know why he's doing that, but you know, it is what it is, as they say. I think there are a number of dimensions here. I'd like to speak about reopening, and I'd like to speak about a redefined workplace. And I also think that this question is going to be better answered by all of you listening here, and you're going to have a chance to do that in a few minutes. But here's some questions I have around the reopening piece. One is, should I reopen? Some are able to and some aren't. But I think this is a tough question because there's a balance that needs to be reached between the survival of the business and the survival of the workforce. So here's a scenario that, let's just imagine this, that let's say you go to your workplace as a business leader, and you have your mask on, and you go to your socially distanced office or workstation, and you call your team members to a meeting, and there are 7 people on your team, and 2 of them are gone. One is at home, quarantined, and the other is in the hospital being intubated. And they happen to be some of your best people. They have the knowledge that you need to be able to conduct that meeting and to work on that project. And you know, they were work a few days ago, but then they went on vacation to the beach, and here you are. So what do you do? In many businesses, you know, you can't work from home. You know that, and at the same time, you know that work only gets done through people. So now your entire workforce may be at risk. This person wasn't not, these people were not very careful. So do you send everybody home? Do you keep them at work? Is it a business decision, a public health decision, or is it an ethical decision? So we're faced with this very difficult balancing act, you know, because we want our businesses need to survive, but we also need to keep our people safe. So from a collaborative perspective, could you collaborate with the workforce, perhaps, to discover new ways of working so that everyone feels safe and that they trust their leadership? We know that people will do their best work if the leadership is credible and if the workforce believes that they care about them and their safety. So I think this idea of collaborating with the workforce is something that's going to come up several times here, but I just think we need to get into dialogue with the people who are most directly affected by this situation. Closing. What happens if we have to close down again? There are some thoughts that may happen. This is the flu season, second wave, third wave. Look, the virus doesn't care if you're open or closed. It just looks for hosts. So it's critical to trust the science and not the politics, and to do what is right for the workforce so that you can stay open and survive. Again, I think if we could we engage the workforce to put together a strategy that is based on science? How long is this going to last? Another question. There is considerable uncertainty about this, and one estimate is late 2021 or early 2022. Yesterday, I heard an epidemiologist say it's not going to be until 2022 that we have a vaccine that is available and people are vaccinated and it's safe enough to go out. So will we ever return to normal? I would suggest the answer to that is no. It's never going to be February 2020 again. We'll talk about the redefined workplace here in a second, but I think COVID has changed our lives forever. And this is not the last pandemic. There are others that are lined up. There are about 160 different coronaviruses that have been identified worldwide. And there was a second one, another one that dropped about June 30th of this year or so. It's going to be coming in waves. This is just part of our new reality. What's the impact on the workforce? From what I'm reading and what I'm hearing, talking with business leaders, there's a tremendous amount of anxiety and fear. Will they be safe? Everyone is having to figure this out for themselves. It's kind of because of the lack of national leadership. It's a survival of the fittest. The idea of herd immunity is simply ridiculous in my view. But will our older citizens be safe? Will our kids be safe? We're sending them to school, and I don't think anyone knows for sure. I think we are in uncharted territory. But I am still optimistic. I think I see local and state leaders and business leaders across the country mobilizing data, mobilizing resources to address the public health crisis that we're in. I see staff engaging in people problem solving. Facebook and Google said, go home. And when it's safe to come back, we'll let you know. I'm working with a small business out in California. Had an interview with the CEO just the other day. And, when this thing happened in March, he sent everybody home. They're able to do that in this business. And in talking with some of the senior leaders in that organization, I found that they all feel really safe. The leader has a tremendous amount of credibility because he cares about the people. The other piece of this is the redefined workplace. So we obviously know that COVID is changing things. Look, we're here on Zoom. So there are 5 things I think how the workplace is being redefined. First is that Zoom is flattening the hierarchy. It's kind of an action forcing event. All the boxes are the same size. And whether you're CEO or frontline, you have a meeting, we're all considered equal. So it means that it's not about power anymore. I think it's about trust, that people need to feel like they're a part of the solution, that they're going to be motivated by being a part of that solution. We have to trust our workforce because we're going to be many of us are working remotely. And that means that they're not being micromanaged. It means that teams, I think, are the essential building block in this redefined workplace for whether we're working virtually or not. teams of people are, that's how we get our work done. So they're going to need to learn how to work together differently, perhaps, and I would suggest collaboratively. In the book, I talk about the collaborative team governance process. Yi can attest to that. It is very, very powerful in terms of building high levels of trust, effectiveness, and accountability. Finally, this redefined workplace, I think, is a principle of collaboration is ownership. You know, people take care of what they own. They don't wash rented cars. And so I think by giving the workforce a voice in the open, reopen, close, redesign process, you know, you're building trust and credibility with your workforce, and you're also motivating them to do their very best. And it's a way to build a bridge between the balance of survival and safety. So at the bottom line, I just think we need a new approach to leadership at our level. And I think that the 21st century approach is collaboration. That's what our workers want. And it is a way for business leaders to solve some of their most critical issues.
Sure, Professor Marshall. We heard you that we have heard a lot about like the collaboration and the way of collaboration, and you have set up a the context of the current business situation and the current the bigger environment. And so now let's just practice the collaboration and the teamwork. So we will just give our members an opportunity to join each other and to practice the collaboration with your instruction while you're here. So do you want to give them a few questions for them to think about based on the current situation that you want them to think about, and then you can just ask them, and then we will send people to different breakout rooms.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Fiona. You know, it would be ridiculous for me to come and talk about collaboration and then for us to not collaborate. So I just wanted to, I think setting the context is a way to begin the conversation. So what I'm going to suggest, we're going to put you in breakout rooms of Yi. How many people per breakout room at this point?
We'll have 19 people in breakout rooms, so there will be 4 or 5 people in a certain room.
All right, excellent. So we're going to give you 20 minutes to answer these 2 questions. So I'd like to ask you to appoint someone as you begin to facilitate your conversation and to report out your results. And we'll have a conversation when you come back. You'll report out your results, and then we'll talk about it. And we're going to see what kind of shared points of view you all have. So there are 2 questions, one about your personal life and one about your work life. And what I'd like you to be doing, the facilitators, just make sure you go around the room, that everybody has a chance to comment. You're going to need to watch your time, so you'll have about 10 minutes per question. So the first question has to do with not how are. First question is, how are these forces that we've just talked about affecting you in your personal life? COVID, the economic collapse, redefining the business and the workplace, and see if you can come up with 2 impacts that you can agree on. And, you know, just to try to get a sense as to how this is really kind of showing up in your personal life. And then the second question has to do with your work life. So what are the impacts of this changing workplace on your workforces? What's happening to them? And see what the top two impacts are that you all can agree on, that you can come back and share with the rest of us. So again, personal life, work life, we're looking at how these forces are impacting your personal life and your workforces. So we will see you back in 20 minutes. You'll get a 1-minute warning to come back, and then the breakout rooms actually will automatically shut down. All right, we'll see you in about 20 minutes. So Yi, can you put Aaron in a group?
He is in the group,
Oh,
but he hasn't joined yet.
oh, Aaron hasn't joined? Okay.
Okay, do we have everybody back? Do we miss any is anyone is missing?
Great, yeah.
I
I
think
Yeah.
think we're all back.
Okay, awesome. So Professor Marshall, do you want to facilitate and listen to their responses, or do you want me to ask and then each group?
well, let's start with, I can do that, Fiona, thank you.
Okay, okay.
Let's start with breakout room number 1. What'd you come up with for the personal life and work life impacts?
Who is in number 1 breakout room?
Justin,
I think it's us.
Ah, okay.
Justin.
We had Lynn.
iPhone, Justin, and Lynn.
We had Lynn and Anne from breakout group 1, and the 2 iPhone and bonus users, and we also had Daniel join real quick. We came up some answers.
Yeah.
So for question number 1, personal life, I think what definitely changes the time allocation of your day, right? Meaning you previously are traveling to work, you're spending longer time to take a lunch, and somehow your calendar is more better distributed versus today, right? When you wake up, is straightly go to work, and you know time allocation definitely changed. And the second aspect is that people around you, right? Previously, it's really your colleagues. You spend a lot of time with colleagues, but today is mostly computer and family and pets, right? So people aspect also change. I think somehow that the personal life is intertwined with work now, for sure, right? So going to the second question is, to start with, it's hard to draw the boundary of personal life and work, right? For example, this year, few people take vacation, right? Because even though they take vacation, somehow you end up working as well, right? So so the boundary is more great now between work and life. I guess other points about work is there are some new technology you have to adopt with, and with that is the new norm and format of working. Like Lynn just mentioned, we didn't know about this break room, right? When people jump into it, we don't know who is facilitating, who is coordinating. It's hard to define the roles. Like to your previous example, right? We saw CEO and an analyst both on the call. There's no authority for the analyst now speaking up. So new tools and new norms, challenges and opportunity both. I guess the second is there will be some emotional struggle for work due to, before, I guess you can share with your colleagues, there are more personal touch point face to face, versus now you have to deal with a lot of negativities, I guess, through calls or by yourself, right? There are also uncertainty for your work. For example, like me in hat tech, right? I work for Lenovo, where we were discussing that companies can now start to think about outsourcing a lot of technical jobs, right? Since people are working remotely, why they necessarily need to pay US laborers, right? So there's definitely emotional uncertainty and emotional struggle for work at this time. I think that's the main points we covered.
Justin, relative to that uncertainty, if I could follow up, does that mean people are not sure that they're going to have a job in 6 months or a year?
I think there are definitely morale low, or people are not uncertainty about the company's financial performance. Definitely is impacted to many industries, and with that, somehow we are working harder, we're working longer hours, and also uncertainty about the career future, right? And I
Right.
think it's overall is the micro economy impacting the micro performance.
Yeah, and the reality that companies, if can get their work done anywhere in the world, they don't have to have a resident workforce anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so that creates lots of questions around the future anyone's job has to weigh heavily on you all. Thank you very much for that, Justin. That's a very good and complete report out. Let's go to breakout 2 that has Kristen, Fiona, and Xiaomei.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and summarize that what Kristen has described about. So Kristen works at a realtor brokerage company, and then for generally that those brokerage companies, they will withdraw a certain percentage of their commission based on the services that they provided to their employees or their agents. However, due to this kind of like a COVID thing, and then people are start working at home, they seldomly come to the company and they don't interact with each other that much. And then for those services that can be only offered on site, and then they don't got the chance to enjoy that much of services that was they supposed to receive, but they're still paying certain amount of money to the company as well.
Right.
Yeah, and then for personal life, and we do see there's a lot of scheduling conflict between our personal thing, taking care of the family members. Kids are being stay at home, and then we have to go to work, and then it's a dilemma and also an ethical dilemma that we cannot force our employees who has their kids stay at home to come to work full time, even though we require them to do so. So yeah, that's it.
So that last one was that people are being required to go back into the workplace.
Well, that's in my situation is that I would like my employee to come to work because our work some of our work cannot be finished totally online or remotely. We need to interact with clients. There's certain paperwork we need to prepare. But I right now offer a half day work from home and half day on-site schedule to my employees. However, there's a big transition problem for the work if people are sometimes are working online, and there's always things that need to be taken care while we are all working remotely.
Right.
So I guess there's some technology problem that we need to take care, and also this scheduling thing, especially if moving forward, if this gonna be a new form, we really need to think it about like for those industries, if we need to interact with people or we need to come work on site, how we're going to deal with this scheduling conflict.
Right. Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much, Fiona. In group 3, we had Daniel and Thomas.
Hey, Thomas, do you want to present?
Oh no,
Okay,
I'm shy. I'm shy, Daniel.
Okay, sure. Yeah, just now, Thomas and Frank, yeah, we have some conversation. From the personal life right now, yeah, it affect a lot. Like people cannot travel, and then the shopping has converted to the online, or when going to local, it make a lot of anxious to anxiety, yeah, to people. And then from the work life, yeah, most people right now work from home, and then even if you have to go to work from the office, yeah, then it has changed a lot. And then as right now, there are a lot of new technology and new tools to coming up and then to learn. So yeah, let's say from our break room. Thanks.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. In group 4, we had Balbe, Glory, and Steve.
Okay, well, I guess I'll share with our group.
Okay.
This is Glory. Baby was also in our group, and Steve. I think it was really interesting because, well, Baby and I had different perspectives on, COVID in the workplace and how it sort of impacted us differently. And I guess it just depends on, the nature of the business. and the work that we do, because for me, and I think Tom can agree as well, is, with our agency, we work a lot with the public, and you know, we've been actually on agency-wide telework since the start of COVID in March, and I think in a way it sort of has technology has definitely sort of benefited and supported us and the work that we've done, and I think that has helped us actually become even more productive. We're working from home, we don't have any challenges in commute, all other issues. So I think technology is definitely a proponent or has benefited us in what we do, but for Bebe, it's sort of different because of the nature of her work, where she's a consultant for a renewable energy source, and much of her dealings actually requires a lot of face to face. And it's really interesting that she sort of shared culturally that in person is really key to develop that relationship, the in person, developing that in person, having that first meet and greet, and knowing the person before you actually engage in a project or engage in relationships. So it was really interesting to get her perspective on how COVID has impacted her business, and also personally as well. So I thought that was really insightful. So
You had some differences depending upon the type of business.
exactly.
Okay. Well, good. So it sounds like what I'm hearing, I've just been taking notes as you all have been talking, that on the personal side, on the family side, there's some scheduling challenges, and I suspect some balance between family and work, transition issues, how you the blend between work and family time. Most of your comments, however, were on the work life side, where the first point was around setting boundaries, which is, I know in my work is really important. I've not been out since March to the campus. But a number of comments around technology and how we're having to learn this. I've had to learn Zoom and some of the ins and outs of it, and other platforms. There are many other platforms that people are using. So, we're in this two-dimensional space where we're spending time with each other. I heard that I thought the uncertainty around whether I'm going to be employed, what's going to happen to my business, will it survive, and then the subsequent emotional impact that has. That some people I have heard that was not part of this conversation, but outside of this conversation, I've heard about depression and other kind of emotional consequences that are associated with this, people not wanting to be cooped up for long periods of time. And so that presents challenges. There's also another consequence of all of this is low morale. The pros and cons, technology helps us, but it also keeps us apart. There are a lot of pros and cons to it, but I think this is all really, really helpful to continue our conversation then around whether what we can do about this. I think Fiona, did you want to take us into our next segment?
Yes. I also heard like a lot of our members talking about, and it seems like the COVID is actually impacting our business and the leaders in various and different ways. So, and I'm pretty sure that you have some ideas or some suggestions to our members about how they can do as a business leader, and also what is some complex issues that a more collaborative leader can do in this situation.
Yeah, I'm thinking of what's been said here. I mean, I have some other thoughts I'd like to share, but I think the uncertainty, some of the anxiety, and some of the emotional impact on this is something I'm struck by, and I'm just curious if there's one thing that we can do as business leaders in terms of um, making sure we stay connected with our folks. I have found doing one-on-one conversations can help to kind of take the temperature. As a leader, if I can listen actively to what they are concerned about, and then gather that information just as we have done here. Sometimes it's in small groups. There might be challenging assignments that may be helpful to keeping people focused. But I think for businesses themselves to survive, from a collaborative leadership perspective, I would say there are four things that I would recommend. First is it's about health and safety. First, the only way, we get work done through people, and if our folks don't feel safe, then our productivity is going to go down. If they are uncertain about the future of their jobs, productivity, morale, is going to go down. That's one of the things I heard you all say. But I think it is really important from a leadership perspective to make sure that we ensure their health and safety. Secondly, I'd say trust the science, not the politics. As I said earlier, the virus doesn't care about your political persuasion. It just looks for hosts. And with the new surge and the flu coming and so on, and the long-term impacts of this, I just learned from one of the epidemiologists. I listened to a number of podcasts around this, and there's a new phenomenon called long haulers that Mount Sinai Hospital has actually set up a crisis center around long haulers. These are people who have gotten COVID and then aren't showing the signs anymore, but it is ravaging their bodies. And I am, this is very personal to me because this has just happened to my older sister. So I would I think as a business leader, if we can get ourselves educated around the science and around the epidemiology of this, and forget whatever the politicians are saying, so that we are informed and that we can then inform our workforce. I mentioned listening actively to your workforce. People need to know that you care, that you will take their points of view into consideration. I can see sometimes either it's small groups or having an open mic all hands meeting where people have a chance to get a collective sense that we're in this together and we're going to support each other. Really, really important at this time, because otherwise in a survival of the fittest kind of mentality, people feel alone and isolated, and that can contribute to some of the emotional struggles that you've talked about. And then finally, on surviving, I would engage my workforce in actual problem solving, around whether we open, reopen, close, how we're going to handle this situation. So we're doing this together. That sense of we're all part of this is really, really important. To thrive, I think we need to, as leaders, we need to understand that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And what I mean by that is, what's important is that from our workforce, what they're looking, I mean, they're looking at us, and how are we handling all of this? So we need to be grounded and be clear about what our core values are, and to be reflective and self-aware, and to be able to be clear about where we're going and how we're handling this. So our groundedness will then give a sense of confidence to the rest of the organization that we are we're in charge. We're not going to be victimized by this. We're going to do this together. Secondly, I think key is trust and building that and keeping that alive. And one of the ways we can do that is to be trustworthy as business leaders, to be ethical above reproach. I'm reminded of what my client Bill Marriott used to say: take care of your people and they will take care of your client. And that builds credibility between you and the workforce. I've mentioned ownership, and I think in terms of giving people in the workforce, how are we going to redefine our business? I happen to believe that the businesses are going to be around in 2025 or 2027 are the ones who are redesigning their business model today. And because this thing is going to be with us for the foreseeable future, we need to really reconsider. We can't just continue doing what we've been doing and expect different results. That's the definition of insanity. So we really need to take this thing seriously, as I know we all are. And the way to do that is to really engage our people so that you can survive for the long haul.
Sure. So with all of those great suggestions, and then we would like to right now just turn those time and the opportunities to give to our members to see if any specific person, do you have any questions or any perspectives that you would like to share? So again, we're also still practicing our collaboration and teamwork over here. We would like to, and I'm pretty sure that Professor Marshall would like to hear from you if you have any questions or if you have any comments and perspectives you want to share with our members.
Or even things that you feel you can do to, to contribute to the collective knowledge here, things that you have tried or doing to try to address this challenge that we're up against.
Sure. I guess any people have any questions or any comments, perspectives, you can just unmute yourself and then just talk.
Yes, this is Tom Kokloff. One of the things that I have seen as a great challenge, especially for leaders, is how to continue employee engagement. As someone was saying to me recently, it was the end of the fiscal year yesterday. They normally would have taken their staff out to a breakfast or a lunch, order them donuts, but you can't do those things now. And so there's an opportunity to be more creative in how you actually do engagement. One of the suggestions that I had to one of our managers is that you've got to find out the birthdays of all of your staff. Mm-hmm. And now you really have to go back to sending a real birthday card, maybe not just an email, or sending a thank you card through the mail. That might be something better received rather than an email. The other tough thing that can happen is if you have an employee who is not performing. Typically you'd walk down the hall, or if you needed to pay the individual a visit, you just drive to their office. Now the question is, how do you fix that? And how do you interact with that individual to get the results that you actually want? Because you don't know what's going on, because as we talked about in the two questions, you've got the business challenges going on, as well as the challenges in the individual's personal life. Because many parents now are they went to school to do IT, but they're also teachers now at home part-time, which is tough. So for me, again, just summing up, it's the employee engagement and coming up with those new ideas to make that happen.
Yeah, could I respond, Thomas, to that second point that you made about non-performance?
Yes, sir.
I would suggest. We actually are talking about this in our course right now in Management in High-Tech Industries at Duke. The coaching format is a way to really begin to think about the performance management. Performance management is actually taking a very different turn these days. I mean, from the 1 to 4 rating, or so I think what I would be doing with a non-performing employee in this situation is first having a one-on-one with them, and I'd be listening to what the challenges are. And it could be something like, well, here's our goal. Here's what I understand is going on right now. Can you help me understand what's happening here? Because I really need you to be your best, to do your best work. And is there something that I need to be doing to support you that that I'm not doing? And so it makes it more of an engagement process where it's a mutual conversation as opposed to a power-based conversation. The company needs this kind of output. The client needs this kind of result. They're not getting it. How can we work on this together? So the tool I teach my students that I've actually worked with my clients, I was in business for 35 years. So as a consultant, so one of the things we used to do in teams is to use a very simple tool. What's so, what, now what? And the what's so is here's what's going on. It's not about, you're not doing your job. It's not, there's no you in the what's so. Let's find out what the root cause is as to, why this is going on. And then the so what is, the impact it's having on me, or how I see it having an impact on the business. They may have a perspective too, is the impact it's having on them, and particularly if they're emotionally struggling. That may be the root cause for the low performance. And then the now what is, so what are we going to do to try to resolve this? It's a very simple tool, but it's very powerful because it's not an accusatory or, you're just not doing your job, so I need to ding you on this. I would just suggest that as a kind of and do all of that in a coaching motif can actually be helpful to everyone in this situation.
Excellent advice. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I hope that's helpful.
And Professor Marshall, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. I think one thing in the Chinese culture we talk about, in any crisis there is opportunity. Yes. So I think when the pandemic just started, everybody was basically a little bit not sure what to do. I think over the past 6 months, people start to recognize, even though there are a lot of challenges, but there are also opportunities in that. In our small group discussion, we talk about, yes, it may mean that company can outsource their job to low-paying countries, but it also means that there's more flexibility in terms of where we work and how we work. And this pandemic is actually a shock situation that kind of pushed us all to think differently than we just kind of all going through our routine planning, doing things. So I think even though we all, I think everybody is fighting a different battle at this point, whether personal or work. As a leader, we can be kind of honest, but also optimistic about the situation and be graceful to ourselves and also to our employees, because it's, I think not everybody can figure out it so quickly, and people will have different time to react. And I think that especially pose a challenge for the leader is to, while we struggle ourselves to balance our personal life and work, how to help our team member, and also how to be transparent in the same way, rather than, hey, you didn't do your job well, but really about, hey, we all struggle with how can we make it better? How can we move forward, even though there are a lot of challenges along this journey?
Yeah, I think excellent comments that you've made here. And I think the humility is a really important quality because no one has been here before. We're all trying to figure it out, and it's not normal. This is not the old normal. It's really forcing us to, as I think Thomas was pointing out, for us to be creative. But as you were speaking, I was thinking that it's also critical that we take care of ourselves. Self-care, the best thing we can do for our workforce is for us to demonstrate, to model we're taking care of ourselves, both mentally and physically and socially, so that we are then able to engage them in meaningful conversations around, kind of how they're doing. Be the selfless leader, if you will,
Yeah.
to do their job.
Yeah, Professor Marshall, could you please turn to the previous slides, because Justin would like to see that slide one more time. And then for all of our members, we already got Professor Marshall's permission that we will be able to share those slides to all of you after this presentation. So you will have the opportunity to review them when you're available. Okay, so do we have any more questions, comments?
Comments? These are really, really valuable comments that you guys are making.
Yeah, I think if any audience has any more questions or want to reach out to Professor Marshall or want to get some discount to purchase Professor Marshall's books, you can let us know. Yeah, you can just leave your email or phone number, and then we will send you the coupon code. And then Professor Marshall, you want to talk something about your book?
Oh, sure. Be happy to. It's I actually will go forward a couple slides so you can see a cover of it. It's been a labor of love. It represents 40 years worth of my life's work. I was challenged by my client, my mentor at DuPont when I first started in the information technology group. He said, so, hierarchy is something that we're all struggling with. Do you have anything you think you could put in this place? Well, in a couple of years, we talked about, collaboration. He said, well, that's all fine and good, but how are you actually going to do it? So what I've done in this book is to provide the fourth evolution of leadership. And there are the four evolutions, as Yi knows. You go from power to people to principle to collaboration. And over the last 100 years, I've reviewed in the book 100 years worth of leadership evolution and how there were anomalies that we learned in the 40s, 50s, and 60s around, the scientific method, scientific management approach that was being used in 1920. Unfortunately, many companies are still operating that way. Amazon is an example of they're still using a model for leadership that was used back in 1920. And my point in the book is that it's 2020. This is the 21st century. This is the digital age. And we need a leadership method that meets the challenges of the 21st century. And it's not the power model. And I think COVID, climate change, the economic crisis, nuclear proliferation, all of these major challenges, and some of them existential threats, require us to have a different approach. The demographic transformation that we've had, where the boomer generation is done, and it's time, and the millennial generation is ascending. And so all of these realities coming together all at the same time, all at once, say to me that it's time for us to seize the day, to take this transformative moment, and to, as Thomas was saying, for us to get creative and to make the shift from the way in which we've done it in the past to the way that we need to be doing it in the future. So that's what this book is about. And you can find the book. I've got a YouTube channel and so on. This will be in the slides. If you want to find the book, there's a 40% discount. We can actually, NCCBA perhaps could even get a 60% discount. I could work with you on that, Fiona. if a number of your members want it, the NCCBA could be the recipient of that. But let me know. Be happy to. But before we go, I'd just like to say, give you a quote from my hero, Lao Tzu, who is, he was the first collaborative leader, 6th century BCE, where he said that the best leader is the one who, when the work is done, he says, they say, the workforce says, we did it. But I think in this case, the wise leader is not collecting a string of successes. The leader is helping others to find their own success. The single principle behind all creation teaches us that truth, that benefit blesses everyone. Whoops. Uh-oh. Well, I lost it. I apologize for that. I will finish the quote. That teaches us that true benefit blesses everyone and diminishes no one. So let me just, I'll go out and stop share so that we can all see each other. But I just find it's that Lao Tzu is inspirational. I have his books of teaching from the Te Ching myself. So thank you again for everything that you have done, all the work that you're doing, and it's just been a tremendous honor to spend time with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Michelle, and thank you, Yi, for your great technology support. And then thanks for all of our members to come and join us today. We will have our forthcoming presentations in the future. We welcome you to all to join. And thanks again, Professor Michelle, for your great presentation and your perspectives. Thank you. Thank you. And for all of you who are interested in purchasing the book, and then we will just put the coupon code on the website so you can access it if you want to. Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much, Professor Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona, for organizing this.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you all. Take care now.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Corey. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Daniel and Fiona.
Yeah.
Professor
Welcome to North
Marshall,
Carolina
really do
next
appreciate
time. Yeah.
Yes, I am so looking forward to it.
Yeah, sure.
Take care
sure.
now, and I hope to work with you folks soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Stop
Thanks.
recording now.
Thank you, Professor Marshall. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks.
you very much, Daniel. Thank you, Fiona.
Yeah.